everyone, this is Ohio Dan. In this video, I wanted to revisit a subject that I talked about in one of the first videos that I ever made on YouTube, which I called the dark side of the red pill. And I wanted to get into how my thoughts and the general way that I view the situation has changed since that time, because there is sort of a positive silver lining, so to speak, when it comes to what I talked about in that video that I didn't realize at the time back in the summer of 2017 when I first discussed that topic. So I've noticed over time that there is an eventual positive outcome to what I've called the dark side of the red pill previously. Now, what I'm referring to here, and there seemed to be a pretty decent amount of confusion. I don't think I conveyed what I was trying to discuss quite well enough. I'm not talking about the dark side of the red pill in the sense that you're actually turning evil or doing bad things or accepting moral ambiguity or actually embracing what you could call the dark side. That wasn't my intent at all. What I was referring to is not the actual acceptance of evil or wrongdoing, but the label that many people will place upon you once you embrace red pill conclusions and begin applying these ideas to your everyday life. So it's the idea that you'll be seen as doing bad. You'll be seen as taking the side of evil by people that either don't want to or are incapable of acknowledging where things are, in particular between men and women, right? That's what we're discussing here when I'm talking about the red pill. I'm talking about the realization of the darker aspects of female nature, along with how poorly men are overall viewed in society. The combination of realizing that most women today offer a lot of negative nonsense and toxicity into your life, potentially, and along with that, no matter what happens, you as the guy will probably be blamed for anything that goes wrong or supposedly goes wrong. Just very quickly, whether it's in the workplace with Me Too, or marriage and the family courts being corrupt, or the domestic violence laws and the way that they're written, so you as the guy, you're either a woman beater or, haha, you let women beat you up, you're a pussy, right? That's what I'm talking about when it comes to red pill knowledge in this video, when it comes to the dark side of the red pill, is when you realize these things and you start to apply this knowledge in your everyday life, people are actually going to look down on you. People are going to see you as the bad one for attuning yourself to the reality of the situation for what it really is. When you embrace red pill conclusions and begin applying these ideas to your everyday life, people are going to label you with a stigma in many cases. Many people, including those who may have played an important role in your past, will come to view you as a possible threat to their way of life as you display more self-aware tendencies, as you realize that, wait a minute, if this is the situation for me as a man today, why should I really deal with most women? Why shouldn't I either just walk away from the conventional dating game entirely, or at the very least carefully vet women that I have in my life? And that includes platonic friendships, if you'd want to have that, or family members that are women. All of them, right? You realize what some of the dangers are, and you also recognize that there is no restraint on those dangers. There's no way to really effectively mitigate the potential negative results aside from just staying away from a lot of the negative aspects of female nature. When you start to apply that knowledge, there's a negative effect that I've seen for a long time now, where you're seen as being bad. You're seen as doing wrong for just acknowledging the level of potential danger for interacting with many of these modern women. Even if you never explicitly state views that may be considered anti-marriage or critical of women, for example, people will know that you've changed, and many people will reject what you've come to represent through that change. They'll see that you no longer are willing to put up with nonsense and BS from women in your everyday life, that you hold women, for example, to the same standard as men with your daily engagements and activities. And a lot of people don't like that because our culture is so gynocentric. And that is another way of really describing what the red pill allows you to become aware of, that society's very gynocentric. It gives women free passes all the time, slaps on the wrist for things that men would be potentially destroyed for. And they have almost all the benefits from marriage. They have almost all the benefits from conventional relationships. The workplace environment is basically centered around their needs and their desires now. It's not centered around anything that resembles any sort of fair balance between the genders. When you start to apply that knowledge and make more harsh decisions and realize, oh, okay, I'm not interested in the dating game because it's rigged. I'm not going to get married because it's a scam. Marriage itself today, in the West at least, is pretty much a scam. When you come to apply this knowledge, people are going to look at you as being different and somehow having joined the dark side, even though that's really not the case. Based on what you represent now, based on just applying this knowledge and this red pill philosophy, if you want to call it that, to your life. The good news, and the part that I really want to express in this video, is that although rejection by normies will likely continue as a common occurrence, if you have some form of red pill, going your own way, not giving women a free pass, not allowing women to present dangerous situations to you in life, even though normies will still reject you on that basis or see you as somehow joining the side of evil or the side of darkness in many cases, the effects of this seem to diminish for you as a red-pilled or self-aware man until a point of contentment can be reached. In other words, you just stop caring about this over time. You basically get used to it. And the reason for this is that over time, at least in my experience, I've noticed that I don't want to preserve relationships with people whom I'm no longer compatible with anyway. And I don't want to have anything to do with a lot of people that can't be on the same page as me anyhow. A lot of these friendships, a lot of these relationships, even though I still care about some of these people, former friends or people in my family, I realize that there's really not much there anymore now that I've changed anyway. Now that I've recognized where things really stand between men and women, if these people don't want to deal with me, I'm kind of cool with that. I've gotten to a point where it really is something that I don't want to work toward preserving anyway if I can't just be honest about where I stand on things. Not in an in-your-face, I'm going to lecture you on female nature type of way, but just in the sense of, well, you don't like that I'm not giving this woman a pass, and you don't like that I'm not considering marriage, or I don't want to have conventional relationships, and I basically call women out on their shit. I don't want to be your friend anymore anyhow. Maybe we were good friends in the past, and I can respect that history, but maybe it's best to move on anyway. And that's honestly the conclusion that I've reached in many of these situations, guys. That's what I had been caught up in on the early video that I made, that basically in 2017, I was frustrated because it wasn't like I was actually doing anything wrong, but I was seen as somehow being poisoned or somehow joining the dark side, so to speak, because of my views on where things stood between men and women, and because of my overall kind of, not quite black pill, but just the reshaping of my view of the world on the basis that society basically wants to exploit men, right? That part of it as well, in terms of men are really sold a lot of lies when it comes to their place in society. They're told that they need to be traditional and they need to be good providers and protectors, but there's really no benefit for that anymore. There's no benefit in marriage. There's no benefit in dealing with the majority of women out there. Your average woman is basically a potential problem waiting to happen in a lot of ways from a guy's point of view. And when I came to apply that knowledge, I lost a lot of friends. I had a lot of people either ghost me, or it just became apparent that I didn't fit in anymore. And it bothered me a lot at the time. But the silver lining and the sort of positive aspect of this is that I've noticed over the years since 2017, I care less and less. And now I'm to a point where I just generally don't care at all to preserve relationships with people that can't be on the same page as me when it comes to my overall view of the world, and in particular with my view that all these things are pretty much rigged against men, or all these things are just not advantageous for men at the very least to engage in. Marriage, conventional relationships, dealing with women at work in a way that's not just strictly professional and a minimal level, in the sense that you avoid them outside of work for the most part. That type of thing, for those that can't see my perspective and at least respect my point of view on that, they don't need to be my friends anyway. There's not much there that I have in common with those people anymore. And as that realization has slowly sinked in, it really doesn't bother me whether normies see me as joining the dark side or not. It's just something that no longer really has much power or influence because I'm better off not dealing with these people anyway. And it took me a while to get to that point, if I'm being honest. But that is the positive conclusion to all this. Even though people may see you as joining the dark side somehow, you're actually better off not dealing with most of these people and not having them in your life anyway. Even if you were once close friends, even if you were once on good terms and had a healthy relationship, things change, times change, and if you grow and develop and other people continue to buy into the same nonsense, then you're probably better off not dealing with a lot of these people anyway. And so the negative effects that I'd noticed previously from being viewed as somehow wrong or misguided for applying red pill ideas and principles to my life have really canceled themselves out as I've realigned myself to a more truth-based approach to living, to just dealing with reality as best I can for what it is. Certainly I don't know everything. I'm still trying to learn about life. We all are. I'm not saying that it means that I'm better than everybody else in terms of what I do know, but a lot of people don't really even want to be red pill. They don't want to know the truth when it comes to man's position in society or the darker aspects of female nature and such. They just want to live in their delusion because that's easier. And it depends on their reaction. If they're a live and let live kind of person, they don't have to be on board with red pill or MGTOW for me to be their friend. But if an impasse is reached on that basis, if they don't want to be my friend because I won't give women preferential treatment, or they don't want to deal with me because I'm anti-marriage more or less at this point, then sayonara. There's no reason to be friends with someone that's not ultimately going to accept you anyway, and who's probably so different than you at this point that there's no real camaraderie. There's no real ability to reciprocate anything. We're not going to be on the same page because from their point of view, I've joined the dark side, and from my point of view, they're living in a delusion. And so it's kind of a shame in a way, but it's just sort of the natural result of all this, where if they're not going to accept you for who you are, then there's really not much of a point of having that person in your life anyway. And as a final point of note to conclude this video, I want to say that I believe anyone, or nearly any man, that is capable enough to accept red pill truths and to walk away from society's expectations for them, that man is also very likely capable of overcoming the stigma that others may place upon him for applying these realizations to his own life. If a man has the mental capacity along with the courage, and you could throw other things in there that get into why a man may or may not become red-pilled or MGTOW or accept men's issues as legit and realize the hypocrisy of feminism and all that kind of stuff. But if a man's capable of reaching these conclusions about female nature and reaching these conclusions about his own nature and realizing that men no longer have the power in this society to just deal with women like they used to, that men need to protect themselves, that to a large extent these institutions like marriage and this idea of going through the whole formal dating process to get some single mom that's been with 100 different guys before you, when you realize that this is all pretty much a scam and you walk away from it, people may place these stigmas on you, but you're probably strong enough mentally to also deal with people not accepting you at that point. you're probably also going to be able to work through the red pill rage. I have confidence that most men, if you can get to the point where you accept where things are pretty much, you can also accept other people not wanting to deal with you and probably cutting ties from a lot of people in your past. Maybe not all at once, but eventually you can get to that point. I know I have, and I don't think that I'm that much stronger than a lot of other men when it comes to this, at least the men that have become more self-aware when it comes to these issues. I think if I can do it, probably a lot of other men, most other men can do this as well. If you reach the starting point, if you realize that things are the way they are between men and women and it's not beneficial for men, and to a large degree you're better off just walking away from it, or at the very least being more aware of what you're trying to accomplish. Even if you're one of those guys that still wants to get married and whatnot, you realize the importance of vetting women. You realize there's a lot of nonsense out there from both traditionalists and feminists, those different sides of the same coin. I really believe that if you're capable of making that change to adjust your worldview toward reality, you're probably mentally strong enough to deal with other people not welcoming you in the same way. You're probably strong enough to reject all the BS that you get from people that are part of your past that may not really have a place in your future because you've made these changes. And so I just wanted to talk about how there is a positive outcome to this as time has gone on. At least for me there has been, in terms of being more comfortable and just caring less and less, to the point of really not caring at all what people think. If someone can't accept that you're walking away from being exploited, being part of a scam where the woman can take half your stuff at any time and make up accusations against you, if certain people can't accept that you're making these decisions for your own well-being, then there's probably no relationship to forge with that person anymore anyway. You're probably better off walking away. When all is said and done, you're better off without these people in your life once you've reached red pill, or what I like to call self-aware conclusions, particularly when it comes to where things stand between men and women. If people don't want to accept you and see you as somehow joining the dark side, then honestly, I've realized that these people don't really need to be part of your life anymore, even if they were an important part of your past, because there's really nothing left to be had with that person if they can't accept these changes. If they can't accept that you've reached these conclusions and have reoriented your life around these understandings, then they probably don't have a part to play in your life anymore at that point anyway, and it just is what it is. But there is a solution to this. You just stop caring about those people over time when you realize that if there's no positive role for them to play, you're probably better off cutting ties anyhow.